shortcuts, no easy days, just pressure over and over again. In his world, tired was normal, pain was normal, quitting was not. He wasn't built for highlight reels or quick knockouts. He was built for control, for breaking rhythm, for making strong fighters feel slow, confused, and stuck. Once he got hold of an opponent, something changed. It wasn't just strength, it was timing, weight, position, pressure that never stopped. Round after round, he stayed on top, not rushing, not wasting energy, just slowly taking everything away. At first, opponents tried to fight back. Then they tried to survive. Then they stopped trying at all. That's what made him different. Most fighters win with moments. A punch, a kick, a flash. Khabib won with time, with pressure that never ended, with a style that didn't allow recovery. And because of that, something strange happened in every fight. The longer it went, the more hopeless it became for the other man. No matter how skilled they were, no matter how confident they entered the cage, they always ended up in the same position. Stuck, tired, and waiting for it to end. There was no mystery anymore. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone trained for it. Everyone prepared for it. But still, nobody could stop it. Because he wasn't just trained to fight. He was built for a system where mistakes didn't exist. A system where pressure never stopped. A system where losing wasn't part of the design. And fight after fight, it worked exactly the same way. Perfect, relentless, unbroken. Being undefeated sounds like power, but for Khabib Nurmagomedov, it slowly became something heavier. At first, 29-0 looked perfect. Clean, untouched, a record every fighter dreams of. No losses, no doubts, no scars on paper. But perfection has a hidden cost, because once you reach the top and stay there, something changes. Every fight stops being just a fight. It becomes a risk to everything you've already built. One mistake, one slip, one moment of carelessness, and the whole story changes. That pressure never leaves. Every camp starts with the same thought. Don't be the one who breaks the streak. Every walk to the cage carries it. Every round adds more weight. Not just from the opponent, but from expectation. Fans don't just want you to win. They expect you to stay perfect. And that expectation grows louder after every victory. At 10-0, you are dangerous. At 20-0, you are respected. At 29-0, you are something else, a target. Because now, everyone isn't just trying to beat you. They are trying to be the one who ended it. That changes everything. Even in fights he controlled completely, the record was always there in the background. Not as pride, but as pressure. And pressure builds quietly. It doesn't scream. It doesn't show itself early. It sits in the back of every decision. Every exchange, every second on the feet. For most fighters, it eventually cracks them. But for Khabib, something different happened. He didn't break under it. He carried it, round after round, fight after fight, year after year. But carrying something that heavy for too long comes at a cost, because perfection doesn't just make you untouchable, it makes every next fight feel like the most dangerous one of your life. And at some point, even being undefeated starts to feel less like freedom and more like pressure you can never put down. Everything changed the day the man behind the system was gone. For Khabib Nurmagomedov, fighting was never just about opponents. It was about guidance, structure, direction, and that all came from one person, his father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov. He wasn't just a coach, he was the foundation. From childhood, he built Khabib step by step. Every drill had a purpose, every lesson had meaning. There was no confusion, no guessing, no freedom to drift, only discipline. And it worked. Khabib became the perfect result of that system. calm, controlled, and unstoppable. But behind every performance was something deeper, a connection that went beyond sport. Then, suddenly, it ended. His father passed away. And in that moment, the structure that held everything together disappeared. The gym was still there, the training was still there, the fights were still there, but the voice that made it all make sense was gone. That kind of loss doesn't just hurt, it changes direction. Because when you've spent your entire life following one guide, one leader, one voice, losing it doesn't just create sadness, it creates silence where instructions used to be, and silence is heavy. After that, even victories felt different. The cage was still the same, but the meaning wasn't. The purpose wasn't as clear anymore, the path wasn't as simple. Before, every fight was part of a plan. Now, it was something else. Something harder to explain. Something harder to continue. This wasn't just about grief. It was about identity. Because when the person who shaped your entire life is gone, you don't just lose a coach. You lose the reason you were built the way you are. And for Khabib, that loss didn't weaken him. It changed what fighting meant forever. After the loss, nothing felt the same. Not the training, not the wins, not even the belt. For Khabib Nurmagomedov, everything had been built around one voice. His father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov. But now that voice was gone, and what remained was something heavier than pain, a promise. Before his final fight, Khabib had spoken to his mother, and what she asked him wasn't about titles or legacy. It was about life, about loss, about not losing another son the way she had already lost her husband. She told him she didn't want him to continue fighting without his father, and Khabib listened. That moment became something he could never ignore, because in his world, promises aren't suggestions, they are final. So even while the world still saw an undefeated champion, inside him something was already decided. The cage would not be forever, the record would not be the priority. Something else had taken its place. Family, faith, respect. It wasn't an emotional decision made in one night. It was a weight that grew with every training session after his father's passing. Every punch felt different. Every camp felt incomplete. The system was still there, but the soul behind it was gone. And slowly, the question stopped being, how long can I stay champion? It became, why am I still here? That is what made the promise so powerful, because it didn't come from pressure, it came from clarity. He was no longer fighting to prove anything to the world. He was no longer chasing records or silence or perfection. He was honoring something bigger than all of it. And once that promise was made, the path forward was already changing, not toward another fight, but toward an ending the world never saw coming. The final time Khabib Nurmagomedov walked into the cage, it didn't feel like a normal fight. It felt like the end of something bigger. Across from him stood Justin Gaethje, a dangerous striker known for violence and pressure. On paper, it was a title defense, another test, another night to stay undefeated. But for Khabib, nothing about this was normal anymore. His anchor was gone. His father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, was no longer there in the corner. The voice that guided every step of his career was missing. The system that shaped him had ended, and still he fought. From the opening bell, something felt different. Not in his skill. That was still perfect. Not in his pressure. That was still unstoppable. But in his eyes, there was something deeper there now. Something quieter. Gaethje came forward with power, trying to break rhythm, trying to force chaos. But Khabib didn't rush, he didn't panic, he didn't chase. He waited like he always did. Then he closed the distance, slowly, calmly, inevitably. Once the fight hit the ground, the familiar pattern returned. Control, pressure, no escape. but this time it felt heavier. Every position wasn't just about dominance. It felt like it carried memory, emotion, and loss. Gaethje fought hard. He tried to resist. He tried to stand, but the weight was too much. Round after round, the fight slipped further away, and yet Khabib never changed expression. No celebration, no anger, no noise, just focus. Because this fight wasn't just about winning another title defense, it was about finishing something unfinished inside himself. When the submission came, it didn't feel like victory in the usual sense, it felt like closure. And in that moment, standing alone in the cage without the man who built him, Khabib had completed the last fight of his life, not as a champion chasing more, but as a son honoring everything that came before. The moment the fight ended, the arena exploded. Another win, another defense. Another night where Khabib Nurmagomedov did what no one else could do, stay perfect. But inside the cage, there was no celebration, no jumping, no shouting, no running to the fence, just silence. He stood there for a second, breathing heavy, looking down at the ground like something inside him had finally settled. The belt was placed on him, but it didn't feel like the same kind of victory anymore, because this time something was missing. His father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, wasn't there in the corner. The man who had been part of every fight, every step, every decision was gone, and with that absence, everything felt different. The crowd was loud, but Khabib wasn't listening. Then he began to speak. His voice was calm at first, controlled, but underneath it, you could feel something breaking loose. He talked about his father, about the promise, about the journey that brought him here, and then the words came that nobody expected. I promised my mother this will be my last fight. For a moment, the entire arena froze. Confusion, shock, disbelief. A champion at 29-0, still at the top, still untouchable, still improving, and yet saying goodbye. It didn't make sense to the crowd. It didn't make sense to the sport. Fighters don't leave like this. Not here, not now, not when everything is still perfect. But for Khabib, it already made sense long before he said it out loud. This wasn't a decision made in that moment. It was something that had been building quietly for a long time, through loss, through pressure, through silence. And now, standing in the center of the cage, holding the belt, he made the choice that changed everything. He didn't just win the fight, he ended his story while still at the top and walked away before the world could take anything else from him. After that night, everyone waited for the return. They thought it was temporary. They thought he would miss it. They thought he would come back for one more fight. But Khabib Nurmagomedov never did, because for him, the decision was already complete. Most fighters leave the door slightly open. They say things like maybe later or we'll see, but Khabib closed it fully. No confusion, no hesitation, no back and forth, and that's what made it so hard for people to understand. He was still at the top, still undefeated, still improving, still the most dominant force in the sport. There was no decline to explain it, no loss to justify it, nothing forced him out. So why leave? The answer was never about fighting ability, it was about meaning. After the death of his father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, something inside him shifted permanently. Fighting was no longer just competition, it became memory, it became weight, it became something tied to emotion instead of ambition. And then came the promise to his mother. That promise became stronger than any title, stronger than any record, stronger than the entire idea of being champion. Because once that promise was made, everything else became secondary. Money didn't matter anymore, legacy didn't matter anymore, even perfection didn't matter anymore. He had already reached the highest point possible in his sport. There was nothing left to chase that could replace what he had lost. And that's the part people struggle to accept. Not that he could have stayed, but that he didn't need to. because most fighters keep going to find meaning. Khabib left because he already found it. So while the world kept asking when he would return, the answer was simple and final. He wasn't gone because he was forced out. He was gone because for the first time in his life, he had nothing left to prove inside the cage. What Khabib did is rare in fighting history. Not because he won, not because he was undefeated, but because of when he left. Most fighters don't get that choice. They don't walk away at the top. They don't leave while they are still feared, still improving, still dominant. The sport usually takes something first: speed, power, confidence, health, and only then does a fighter step away. But Khabib Nurmagomedov didn't wait for that moment. He left before the decline ever started. That is what makes it almost impossible to understand. In combat sports, the system is built to pull fighters deeper, more money, bigger fights, more fame. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave. Every win convinces you there is still more to do. Every belt convinces you to defend it again, and the world always encourages one more. But Khabib broke that cycle completely. He was still undefeated, still champion, still at the peak of his ability. Nothing was taken from him. He gave it up voluntarily, and that almost never happens because greatness usually becomes addictive. The feeling of winning, the attention, the legacy, it pulls most fighters back in, even when they know they should stop. But for Khabib, something else was stronger. The loss of his father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, changed the meaning of everything, and the promise he made to his mother sealed it. That combination created something rare in sports: clarity. He didn't leave because he was tired of winning. He left because he understood that staying would take more than it would give. And that is why his story stands apart. Because in a world where most legends fight too long, he was one of the very few who left exactly at the right time, at the top. Unbroken, unchanged. People think fighting happens inside the cage, but for Khabib Nurmagomedov, the hardest fight came after the cage was empty. There were no punches, no crowd, no opponent, just silence. For years, his life had one clear path: train, fight, win, repeat. Every day had meaning because every day was building toward the next battle. Even pain made sense because it was part of becoming better. But when he left, that structure disappeared. No more camps, no more opponents, no more countdown to fight night. And that's when the real challenge began. Because walking away sounds easy from the outside, but when your entire life is built around discipline, pressure, and purpose, stopping doesn't feel like freedom at first. It feels like emptiness. The cage gave him direction. It gave him focus. It gave him identity. Outside of it, everything becomes slower, quieter, less certain. But Khabib didn't walk away confused. He walked away clear because his decision wasn't made in one moment. It was built over time, through loss, through promise, through understanding what mattered more than fighting. His father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, had built him for competition, but life after his father taught him something deeper. That strength is not only measured by how long you fight, but also by when you stop. Most fighters are remembered for how they fall, for how long they stay after their peak, but Khabib changed that idea completely. He left before the fall, and that's what makes his story different, because in the end, his greatest victory was not a takedown, not a submission, not a title defense. It was a decision to walk away at the top, to stay undefeated forever, and to win a fight that no opponent could ever give him, the fight to let go.
Onto the green! Fluid onto the green! Oh, it's gonna break race!
He does indeed! 10 under par. Welcome to the big time, Rory McIlroy.
Oh, no way!
21-year-old Rory McIlroy.
He had everything: the perfect swing, the perfect power, the perfect career. Rory McIlroy was supposed to win it all, again and again, but every time he got close, something changed. His hands got tight, his mind went quiet, and the shot just didn't happen. One moment in 2011 started it all. One missed chance at Augusta that never really left him, and now, years later, it still shows up when everything is on the line. So the question is simple: is Rory losing because of golf or because of his own mind? Before the mistakes, before the pressure, before the doubt. There was something different about Rory McIlroy. When he hit a golf ball, it didn't look like effort. It looked natural, almost easy. The ball would fly high, long, straight, like it already knew where it was going. People started saying it early. This guy is special. This guy is next. This guy might be the one. Because Rory didn't just play golf well, he looked like he was built for it. While others worked hard to control their swing, Rory already had power most players only dream about. He could change a hole in one shot. He could turn a safe round into a winning one in minutes. And when he started winning, it felt inevitable. He didn't slowly climb the rankings. He arrived, big tournaments, big pressure, same result. And that's when the talk began. Not just that he was good, but that he was perfect. A complete player. Power, control, touch, confidence. The kind of player golf doesn't see often. People even started comparing him to legends like Tiger Woods. But there was something deeper forming under all that praise. Because when you are called perfect, anything less starts to feel like failure. He didn't slowly climb the rankings. He arrived, big tournaments, big pressure, same result. And in golf, perfection is dangerous. One bad round doesn't feel like a mistake, it feels like a question. One missed putt doesn't feel small, it feels like pressure growing louder. Rory wasn't just playing against the course anymore, he was playing against expectation. And the higher he climbed, the heavier it became. Because when the world believes you are perfect, they stop watching your wins and start watching for the moment you prove them wrong. It was supposed to be his moment. The world had already started to believe it. The talent was real. The wins were coming. The future looked wide open. And then came April 2011, the Masters tournament, a place where golf doesn't just test your swing, it tests your mind. On Sunday, Rory McIlroy walked onto the course with a 4-shot lead. 4 shots. That usually means control, comfort, almost victory. Everything looked calm at first. His swing was smooth, his face was focused. Nothing looked wrong, but Augusta has a way of changing things without warning. It started small, a shot a little left, a recovery that wasn't clean, a feeling that something didn't sit right. Then came the 10th hole. One moment, one swing, and everything broke. A drive gone wild, a mistake under pressure, a triple bogey that no one saw coming, and just like that, the lead was gone. Not slowly, not carefully, gone. You could see it in Rory's face after that hole. Not anger, not panic, something worse. Confusion. Because for the first time in his career, he couldn't fix it. The game that once felt easy suddenly felt heavy. Every shot started to matter too much. Every step felt louder. Every thought became a question. By the time he reached the final holes, the tournament didn't feel like his anymore. It felt like it was slipping away in real time. He finished with an 80, and the world didn't just see a bad round, they saw something else, a crack, not in his swing, but in his belief. Before Augusta, he was the next big thing. After Augusta, something changed, not outside, inside. And that moment didn't disappear, it stayed. Most people thought Augusta 2011 would slow him down. But it did the opposite. It woke something inside Rory McIlroy, because after that collapse, he didn't hide. He didn't fade. He didn't doubt forever. He came back stronger, much stronger. A few months later, he stepped onto the biggest stage again at the US Open, and this time, there was no fear. From the very first round, it felt different. Every shot had purpose, every swing had control, and suddenly, the same player who collapsed at Augusta was dominating the field. He didn't just win, he destroyed the competition. Then came the PGA Championship, another win, another statement, another reminder that Augusta was not the end of his story. By now, the world wasn't questioning his talent anymore. They were predicting history. He became world number one. He was winning majors. He was collecting trophies like it was only a matter of time. And that's where something strange happened. The success didn't erase Augusta. It made it louder, because now the expectations were no longer he might be great. They became he has to be great. Every tournament wasn't just a chance to win. It was a chance to confirm what people already believed. That pressure doesn't feel heavy at first. It builds slowly, win by win. Expectation by expectation, headline by headline. And even when Rory was winning, something was shifting. He started playing not just to win, but to prove. To prove Augusta didn't matter. To prove he was still the best. To prove the collapse was behind him. But pressure doesn't disappear when you outrun it. It waits. And the more he won, the more it waited for the moment he didn't. At first, it looked like normal golf. Good days, bad days, wins, losses. That's how the sport works. But for Rory McIlroy, something different started to appear. A pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. When Rory was chasing, everything felt free. He played fast. He played bold. He played like nothing could touch him. But when he was leading, something changed. Not in his swing, in his mind. His movements became a little tighter. His decisions became a little safer. His rhythm wasn't as natural. It wasn't obvious at first, but over time, it showed up in the biggest moments. The Open Championship, a chance to win. He pushed hard, but came up short. The Masters Tournament, a perfect position again, but Sunday slipped away. The US Open, one shot away, and then gone in the final stretch. Different courses, different years, same feeling. So people started asking the same question again. Why does this keep happening? Because technically, nothing was wrong. His swing was still one of the best in the world. His power still unmatched. His skill still elite. But golf at this level isn't just about skill. It's about what happens when everything slows down, when the crowd gets quiet, when the hole feels smaller, when the result suddenly matters too much. That's when Rory's pattern shows up. Not always, not every time, but enough times to matter. And the strangest part, the closer he gets to winning, the more careful he becomes. As if the fear of losing the moment is stronger than the desire to win it. And in golf, hesitation is enough. Just a fraction of a second, just one thought too many, and the moment is gone. At this point, the problem was no longer visible on the outside, because on paper, Rory McIlroy was still one of the best players in the world. He still hit the ball farther than almost anyone. He still won tournaments. He still reached world number one again. But something had changed in the moments that mattered most. The real battle wasn't happening on the course anymore. It was happening before the shot, right before impact. That small space of time where everything slows down. That's where the war began. When Rory is chasing a score, there is freedom, no hesitation, no fear, just instinct. But when he is leading, the mind starts to speak. Don't miss. Don't mess this up. Just be safe. And that is where great players become different, because safety is not how you win. Over time, that voice grew louder, not because he got worse, but because the stakes got heavier. Every major Sunday carries memory. Every leaderboard brings pressure. Every shot becomes connected to everything that came before it. Especially after the Masters tournament, that moment never left. It became a shadow, not something he sees, but something he feels. And when the mind remembers failure, it tries to protect you from it. That's the trap. Protection becomes hesitation. Hesitation becomes tightness. Tightness becomes missed opportunities. And from the outside, it looks like inconsistency. But inside, it feels like control slipping away. That is the psychological war Rory fights. Not against opponents like Bryson DeChambeau or anyone else, but against the version of himself that remembers everything too clearly. Because at this level, talent is not rare. What's rare is silence in the mind. And Rory's mind never really stays silent when everything is on the line. There are golf courses, and then there is Augusta. For most players, the Masters tournament is just another major, a dream, a goal. But for Rory McIlroy, it became something else. It became the place where everything changed. It started in 2011. A 4-shot lead, a Sunday collapse, a moment that should have been a coronation but turned into confusion, silence, and loss. That memory didn't stay in the past, it followed him, because Augusta doesn't let you forget. Every year he comes back, the course looks the same. The trees, the fairways, the green jacket waiting at the end. But for Rory, it doesn't feel the same. It feels heavier. Not because the course is harder, but because the memory is louder. Every time he steps onto those back 9 holes on Sunday, the mind remembers what happened before, not in detail, in feeling. The feeling of having it and losing it. That's what makes Augusta different from every other tournament. It doesn't just test your skill, it tests your history. Even when Rory plays well there, when he leads, when he contends, when he gets close, it always feels like something is watching, not the crowd, not the cameras, the past. That's why the Masters became more than a tournament for him. It became unfinished business. Every missed chance added weight, every close call added pressure, every return added expectation, and the hardest part, he never stopped being good enough to win it. That's what makes it worse, because failure would be easier to accept if the opportunity was gone, but it never is. So every April, the same question returns. Different year, same place, same story, waiting to be rewritten. And until it is, Augusta never really lets him go. At this point, the story of Rory McIlroy is no longer just about golf, it's about something deeper. A question that keeps coming back every season. Can the mind be fixed when it has already learned fear? Because on the outside, nothing is broken. His swing is still one of the best in the world. His distance still dominates courses. His record still places him among the greatest of his generation. He wins tournaments. He reaches world number 1. He stays at the top. But the moments that define legacies still feel different. Not always, not every time, but enough times to create doubt. And in sport, doubt spreads quietly. It doesn't shout. It doesn't crash in all at once. It shows up in small moments. A slightly safer shot, a slightly longer pause, a thought that wasn't there before. That's the real fight now. Not against opponents like Bryson DeChambeau or anyone else on the leaderboard, but against the memory of everything that has already happened. The collapse at the Masters tournament, the missed chances at majors, the near victories that slipped away in the final stretch. All of it sits somewhere in the background, not as failure, but as experience. And experience is powerful because it teaches you what can go wrong. So the question becomes simple, but impossible to answer. Is this something Rory can overcome with time, with more wins, with more experience in pressure moments? Or is this just how elite sport works at the highest level, where talent brings you to the edge, but the mind decides if you cross it. Because maybe the truth is this: at Rory's level, everyone can win. Everyone can hit the shots. Everyone can lead. But not everyone can stay free when it matters most. And that is the final question. Not about swing, not about skill, but about the one thing no coach can fully control: the mind that won't let him win.
He called himself a billionaire. He flashed private jets, Rolls Royces, and stacks of cash that made the whole world believe it. But here's what nobody told you. The man who built an empire on the idea of being untouchable was quietly drowning in debt. This is the story of the greatest financial illusion in sports history. Before we talk about what was real, let's talk about what he wanted you to see. The private jets. Always the private jets. Floyd didn't just fly. He made sure the world knew exactly how he flew. Instagram posts from the tarmac. Stacks of cash fanned out across leather seats. Champagne at 40,000 feet. Not because he was thirsty, but because the camera was watching. The cars came next. Not one Rolls Royce. Not two. A collection. A rotating fleet of machines that cost more than most people's homes. Parked outside hotels. Pulled up to nightclubs. Photographed from every angle. Each one a carefully placed prop in the most expensive one-man show boxing had ever seen. Then there was the cash. Floyd Mayweather had a relationship with physical money that no other athlete in history could match. He carried it in bags. He counted it on camera. He slept next to it. He named himself Money and then spent every waking hour making sure you never forgot it. The championship belts weren't just trophies either. They were costume pieces, worn to restaurants, brought to nightclubs, draped over his shoulders at press conferences like a king reminding his court exactly who was in charge. And the world bought every single second of it, because that was the genius of Floyd Mayweather before we even get to the truth. He understood something most athletes never figure out. Perception is more powerful than reality. If people believe you are worth $1 billion, you don't need to actually have $1 billion. You just need to make sure they never stop looking at the jets. But here's the question. Nobody asked back then who was actually paying for all of it. At some point between the championships and the